Alright, welcome back to Six Flags merger with Cedar Fair. Today we're looking at another smaller Six Flags park in Ronde, located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So Ronde is another smaller park, and before anybody comments down below, I checked and it is on the Six Flags official website as an official park operated by Six Flags. While I don't think it's completely owned by Six Flags, it still is operated and maintained by Six Flags, therefore it is still a property. So don't flame me in the comments once again after the Frontier City ordeal saying that Six Flags doesn't technically own that park. But they do operate and maintain this one. So Ronde is a smaller park on the Six Flags chain. As we'll get to the merger, we'll talk about adding a 5-year 2025 to 2029 plan for the park. And really, honestly, my main thoughts on this park are that it's really a complete park. It's just missing some Six Flags charm. And you'll see what I mean by that. So Ronde has so many rides in it's basically a peninsula park. As you can see, it's on the lake, so obviously really can't add that much to the park. There is a big area section in the back of the park that can be used in the future for a major future development. I'm thinking a water park, we'll get to that later. But this park just needs some Six Flags charm, because honestly, a retheming is what is needed for this park. There's an area in this park that really needs a major Six Flags theme, but otherwise, the main majority of the park can stay the way it is. Honestly, having a B&M invert and a Vekoma SLC in the same park is kind of obsessive. A lot of people would want to see that, switch, maybe not have an SLC and maybe have one of the new age Vekoma coasters. That could come in the future, but honestly, for a small park like this, having two inverted coasters in the same park is actually pretty impressive. So, and they're both multi-loopers. We'll get to the coaster counts in a bit, but I think this is a complete park. The only thing it's really missing is a Six Flags Over Georgia situation where it requires a launch coaster. And we'll get into what coaster I think is best for this park. But honestly, the best thing for this park is just to add some little things and make it more walkable, more experiential, and just make it look a little bit better. So as you can see in the Ronde map, there's obviously some big spaces open. They used to have a big stand-up coaster behind Vampire, which is their Batman clone invert. They used to have a big stand-up coaster back here. They took that out. So there's just a big space over here for a new coaster, but honestly, I think I'm going to leave that open for future videos in development, because the main thing I want to focus on is this area right here and these two sections of the park being blocked off. I think these two sections of the park should be connected. There should be a pathway through the forest over here, around the Ferris wheel, maybe even make a bridge or make like a little boardwalk area, past the slingshot, and to Ednor, the SLC. I think if we can connect these two sides of the park, that'd be the best fit for the park. So let's go over the priorities so far. So Ronde, as I said, it's a Six Flags park. It's one of the, I would say, kind of average small. It's not the smallest park, because Frontier City is obviously the smallest, but Ronde is pretty small when it comes to land area. Like I said, it's peninsula. It sits on the Toronto River, on one of the major rivers that flows through Montreal. It's a peninsula park, so can't really expand that much, besides in the back where the B&M Hyper Goliath runs through its hills. As you can see on the map, you can see there's a big open space here that they can definitely develop, because as you can see, the Hyper has already made it so they had to buy this area, but it is a full peninsula. So this space right here is the farthest they can go as far as a major development, because it is a peninsula, so they can't really expand their land area. But getting to the coaster count. So this park has a Vekoma Boomerang, so that gives them a multi-looper. Dragon is a intimate dark ride, so that goes in other, because it doesn't really do anything else, it's just a family ride. Ednor is the Vekoma SLC, so it gives us a multi-looper and not on the track, +1/+1 here. Then we have a B&M Hyper, which I believe is the standout and airtime machine, as B&M Hyper usually is. Marchi du Mille, I don't know if I said that completely correct, is the mini mine train, the Aero mini mine train, so that goes in other as well. It's a good family coaster, has some dips and turns that are pretty nice. I actually like the Aero mini mine trains because they do introduce kids to what a real coaster could look like just on a bigger scale. Monster is the dueling wooden coaster. Is a big, massive dueling wooden coaster, and that kicks off the wood category. So we got one there, and then we have Toboggan Nordica, which is the Wild Mouse. It doesn't have spinning cars. I think it should. We'll get to that in a little bit. So it still goes in the other category. And Vampire is the B&M inverted coaster. So another multi-looper, not on the track. This gives us all categories filled except for spin, launch, and water. So we're going to be talking about that. So priorities, to-do list. We're going to be looking at priorities, possible timeline, and outro thoughts. The priorities for this park are simple. DC rethemed area. Retheme an area to the DC theme. The top thrill area of the park, which features the B&M invert, has all the major thrill rides, and I think they should all be renamed to DC themed rides. Number 2, park improvements. This is going to be some park infrastructure, adding a pathway, adding a bridge, and doing some coaster improvements and adjustments to one of the coasters. And number 3, a budget new coaster. We don't need something cheap. We can splurge a little bit because this park hasn't gotten a new coaster in 14 years, so we can definitely splurge a little bit, but not too much. So they've been saving up money for a long time. They can splurge a little bit, but nothing too massive. So the DC themed area. We're going to theme this area in the southwest area of the park where Vampire is. Obviously, we're going to be renaming Vampire, and we're also renaming everything in this area. So even the live performance show, we're going to be renaming, as well as all the major thrill rides. And we're going to go over each ride and what I think they should be renamed to. So let's begin with the coaster, Vampire. As you can see here, Vampire is the inverted coaster. We have the Ultimate, the Flying Discovery, the Pendulum Ride, Titan, and the Super Swing Vertigo Ride. So what we're going to be renaming these two is very simple. Batgirl, Flashback, and Joker's Torment. Obviously for the Flying Swing on the right-hand side, it already has the purple, orange, and green theme of the Joker, so it already works out there. Flashback, theme it to the Flash a little bit. It has the color scheme of red, black, and yellow, so we've already got a Flash theme. You can also call it reverse freefall if you want to name it to the Reverse Flash, because it is kind of like a torture machine at this point, because this ride is very torture-esque. So you could make it Reverse Flash themed if you want to theme it to a villain instead of a hero, but the name can change. The main thing is making it themed to a DC property. So why have I chose Batgirl instead of Batman? Well, Batman, there's like 10 of them that are named Batman. I think this should be named Batgirl, one, for diversity. Not really, it's like a diverse name palette. They shouldn't all be called Batman. There should be some differences. And honestly, the purple and yellow theme doesn't really fit Batman, because even the one that's painted yellow in Six Flags Great America that's called Batman still has blue supports. This has purple supports, and purple and yellow fit more to Batgirl's costume, where she wears a purple suit with yellow gloves, utility belt, emblem, instead of Batman, who wears black and dark gray. So I think it fits Batgirl's theme better, and it would be better if they made it so it was more diverse in the name palette for these, because they all just can't be called Batman the Ride. Next, the Orbit, Drop Tower, Volt Ultimate, Sky Swing, and Disco Ronde, the Scrambler Ride, the Spinny Ride. The Drop Tower will be called Superman Freefall. Makes sense. You can put Superman on top. You can make the Superman music blast the speakers as you go up. Flight of Courage, kind of like Wonder Woman theme. Makes sense. You're flying up in the air. She can fly as well. So just Flight of Courage, and make it like a Wonder Woman lasso theme. You can make it so it looks like the ropes are golden, like her lasso. And the Spinny Ride, we'd call it Harley Quinn Spinsanity. There's many of these Spinny rides in DC areas of Six Flags parks, and they just call it Spinsanity or Harley Quinn Spinsanity. Makes sense. Harley Quinn's kind of a dizzy, fun-loving, but also chaotic factor, and Spinny rides are kind of chaotic. You're either going to have a lot of fun, or you're going to be puking into a trash can. And then finally, Bumper Cars Pavilion, Bumper Cars Pavilion, we have Zone Grupa, a performance area, live performers, and an empty pavilion off to the south. So for this, call the Bumper Cars Cyborg Cybercars, make it to the Cyborg character. And then we have Arkham Mayhem. Arkham Mayhem will be now the live performance, have like a bunch of people dressed up as like criminals, clowns, stuff like that. Just like, maybe like, they'll look like Borderlands characters or Joker's goons. They can also dress up as villains. We can have Joker, we can have Batman come in and save people from, people being terrorized by clown minions, and Mr. Freeze, Bane, Riddler, and the Joker coming to terrorize people at Arkham Mayhem. And for this unused pavilion that's off to the left, I would say just revamp that whole thing and make it a Justice League Dark Ride Battle for Metropolis. It's the same thing as if you've ever been to a Cedar Fair park and you've been to Boo Blasters on Boo Hill, or if you've been to Disney World and you did Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. You're in a vehicle, you're driving through Metropolis, shooting at villains, racking up points. You can spin the car to get a better viewing point and get better points by hitting the targets more effectively. It's a good spinny dark ride and does add a whole game element to the ordeal. So it is pretty fun, and I think that'd be a pretty good fit for a DC area of the park. So, number 2, we're going to be looking at park improvements. First of all, a new path to connect both sides of the park. The number one problem I see at Ronde is that to get to the Ferris wheel and to get to Vampire, you have to walk all the way around to get to Vampire. There's no circle. It's not a complete circle. It's a horseshoe. And the problem with a horseshoe is that if you want to go from Vampire all the way to the other B&M at Goliath, you have to walk all the way around the lake. Now, if we create a path going from the DC rethemed area to the Ferris wheel through the forests, then we can have a complete circle, and we can put some little restaurants here, put a new ride as well, and make it so it's a circle park instead of a horseshoe park. So you don't have to walk all the way around to get to the other side of the park. There's a way that you can just walk around the lake. I think it's pretty needed fix to this park, because honestly, I hate parks that do this. Horseshoe parks need to become full circle parks. They need to find some way to do it. They can build a bridge across the lake if they don't want to build a path, but I think the bridge costs more money than the path does. Next thing is spinning cars for the Toboggan Norgaha. So mock rides make spinning cars to be added to old Wild Mouses to make it so the cars spin. The number one problem with the most Wild Mouse is that the ones that don't spin, they're kind of cool in their own sense, but honestly, if you want a spin ride and you don't have a spin ride, but you have a Wild Mouse that doesn't spin, mock rides can just give you new cars. They don't cost that much because obviously they're just giving you new cars to use instead of the old ones, so you can just trade the old cars for the new ones, get a discount, bargain. I mean, honestly, you're not even changing most about the coaster, you're just getting new trains, which isn't that terrible. So yeah, they can just make this so you can have spinning cars instead of regular cars for the Wild Mouse, and that adds a +1 to the roller coaster table count of things you must have for roller coasters. Adds a +1 and covers the spin aspect. So now we're just left with a launch and water coaster. And if you've seen this channel, if you'd watched the videos for a long time, you know that there's exactly one type of coaster that fits this bargain. We'll talk about that in a bit. And that is the new coaster for the park, budget, new, the Mock Rides Power Slash. So there's one of these at Six Flags Over Texas. It's gotten good reviews. It's pretty neat. People say it's actually pretty good. It's a launch coaster plus a water coaster. It's got a huge splashdown. It's pretty cool. You can make it in a small, thin area. It's not terrible. So I mean, it's definitely something that's really fit for the park because it gives them a launch coaster and a water coaster. It covers their entire chart. Now they have everything covered. They don't have to worry about adding anything, which obviously they haven't got a coaster in 14 years. So I would like them to add more coasters in the future. But honestly, if they just get this, they'll have a full chart. And honestly, they're kind of a complete park because really the only thing they would need is like a tower of power. Like you can see right here, the Superman drop tower. They can just make it a power tower. And then all they need is a few other things that we'll talk about in the Beyond 2030 aspect of the video, and so on and so forth. So let's see where this coaster would go. So we have a new path going from the Ferris wheel to the new DC themed area. Put this here and name it Aquaman Power Splash. Name it the exact same name, or you can name it like Power Wave or Wave Rider, something around the Aquaman theme. You can make it different from Six Flags over Texas, but we all know that Six Flags likes to clone rides. Place this coaster between the Ferris wheel and Vampire. You'll get the new coaster. The new pathway will have something so you don't have to just walk to the Ferris wheel. The pathway will make it a circle park, making it more mobile, making it a better park, and a new coaster to make the path line more interesting than just a walk through the forest. Alright, so that gives us to our outline for the next 5 years. So in 2025, I would like to see them put the new path connecting both sides and the DC renaming. The renaming is literally just putting up new names for the rides. You don't even have to color them differently. Some of them you don't even have to do anything to the colors, just rename the rides and just make the logos for the rides names outside the rides have some DC characters. That's all you got to do. So obviously nothing really that big in 2025 besides the number one thing that the Ronde needs, which is a path connecting both sides of the lake, making it a true circle park. So now it's not an annoying horseshoe layout. In 2026, it's been 16 years since a new coaster. We're going to add the Mach Power Splash, call it Aquaman, something, Power Wave, Power Splash, Ultra Splash, Ultra Wave, Typhoon, just something Aquaman. And we're going to add the Arkham Mayhem transformation of the live performance venue into a Arkham Asylum style villain live performance, make it more themed to the DC area. In 2027, is a little bit of a quiet year, but they do a little minor change. They order the toboggan spinning cars from Mach, replace the non-spinning cars with the Mach spinning cars, and make it so that those cars now spin, making it so they have a spinning coaster in the park. In 2028, we of course don't have much. We just have the monster retracking, the scheduled monster retracking of the park, and that's really it. As you can see, Monster is a big coaster, so it does need its retracking every so often, because it is a racing wooden coaster that's a little bit old. So it does make sense for the retracking to happen now, since it is getting a little bit rough. And then in 2029, they add the Justice League Dark Ride. They convert that entire pavilion to a Justice League Dark Ride, make it Justice League Battle for Metropolis, make it a clone that most Six Flags parks have. And as you can see, it's a spin shooter with a game aspect. You compete against other people to see who has the highest score. So pretty cool ride. I think it's one of the better dark rides at Six Flags parks, even though the graphics kind of suck, but it's a Six Flags park. What do you expect? So of course, that is going to get us to the rides: Mach Power Splash, Live Performance Venue, and Shooter Dark Ride. The names I've already said: Aquaman Power Wave, Arkham Mayhem for the Live Performance Venue, and Justice League Battle for Metropolis for the Dark Ride. So Aquaman, of course, is going to go on the new pathway. The Arkham Mayhem is going to go where the Live Performance Venue is, and the Justice League Dark Ride is going into this empty pavilion right here that will be transformed into the Justice League Dark Ride. And if we look at our new roller coaster chart, as you can see, every single category is pretty much stacked up. Like I said, this park was pretty much perfect without perfect already, as well as coasters go. I know most people want more coasters at the park, but I mean, at this point, they really only needed a launch and a spin coaster. Getting the spin trains from Mach for the Toboggan Wild Mouse, and adding Aquaman Power Splash gives you a launch and a water coaster. Full chart, not much to add for the future. So let's talk about the future. So for this park, honestly, there's really not much. There's only two main things that they need to become a true Six Flags park: a water park addition in this back area, a huge back area that really could just be a parking lot, but they already have a parking lot over here. So really, the only thing that they could put over here is either another boat dock or another ride. They could do that, but honestly, I think they could put a water park addition here, make it some sort of water park with a DC or Looney Tunes theme, and then you basically have a Six Flags water park that also generates you additional revenue. And number two, a train ride. Every Six Flags park has a train ride. Most Cedar Fair parks have a train ride. Some of them don't. The ones that don't really do need one. We'll be talking about that as we get to the ones that don't have a train ride. every park needs a train ride, and this one can have one that goes near the grand entrance, goes around this little forest area next to the boomerang, and comes back. Not really that much. They can add some theming, maybe some studio movie set buildings or stuff like that. Some cheap props, you know, just make it a little bit interesting. But honestly, the train ride is just for the fun of a train ride. And for 2030 and behind, the final thing, we can look at the coaster plots. Obviously, there's this major one where the major large stand-up coaster was before it was removed. That can have a B&M or Intamin ride put there. And then there's two smaller plots. Maybe a Vekoma suspended family coaster, and then maybe a small mock rides. Maybe I forget what they're called. The Skyrocket 2. Skyrocket 2 could fit here. That'd give you a more unique launch coaster. So you could add a little bit of a. It's a small launch coaster, but it is a actual legit launch coaster. So you could put that here, and put like a mock Skyrocket 2, a Premier Skyrocket 2, in this small plot of land. Suspended family coaster, New Age Vekoma here to make it so that there's a little more family rides next to the boomerang, and then a large Intamin B&M and maybe even an RMC. But honestly, if they were going to do an RMC, I would just make them convert, put a GCI wooden coaster here, and then maybe do an RMC over here. But anyway, that's mostly going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like if you like, comment down below your thoughts, and subscribe if you really liked the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Toodaloo, have a blessed day.